Now let's go over an example. So in this example, I hope you've taken a little bit of time to think about what all of these terms mean that we just learned in regards to the paragraph here. So take a moment here to determine what all of these different vocabulary means for this problem. Okay, so first we're going to discuss the population and parameter. So as you might see, when we're talking about population, in this case, we want to know everybody that we're interested in. So for this example, the families with children at New York City Public Schools represents all such families. The parameter is a numerical summary for this population, which in this case is the average, we also call mean, amount of money spent on school uniforms. And that's what we're going to be interested in. Now moving on, we're going to look at the subset, which is now the sample. So the sample is the 100 families with children in New York City Public Schools that we surveyed. Now notice here that the statistic and the parameter are the exact same thing. And the reason for that is because that is the numerical summary that we are interested in. So even though we want to know it for the population, we can't do that. So we're going to do it instead for the sample. Now let's move into variable and data. What are those? So in this case, the variable would be the amount of money spent on school uniforms for each individual. So remember, the variable is for the individual, and the data is the collection of all such information from the individual. So in this case, 3 of the families spent $65, $75, and $95. So that would be an example of the data for this variable. Let's look at another example. In this example, we're looking at types of data. So in this example, we're looking for what type of data is described. I'm going to pause here and give you a moment to read it and figure out, is it A, B, or C? So the hint here is after the word data, it says the number of people in someone's household. So when we're talking about a number, we know it's quantitative. So it has to be either B or C. Now, when we count people, could they be in decimal form or are they more discrete? And in this case, we count people, so people would be a discrete number. So the answer here is a quantitative discrete data. Let's try another example. I'll give you a moment to read this one and take a moment to answer, is it A, B, or C? So in this case, again, it says the areas of apartments in square feet. Now we know square feet is a measurement. So it's going to be quantitative again, but is it discrete or continuous? Well, it would be discrete if we were talking about the nearest square foot. As you can see, the values here are all whole numbers, and therefore they're discrete data. If we were exactly measuring square feet, there might be decimals. And in that case, that would move it to a continuous data if we were looking at exact measurements rather than rounding. Okay, let's try another example. What do we think about this one? Now, this one could also be confusing because here it says final grades, and final grades can be numeric, but in this case, they're listed as letters. We see A, B, C, D, and F as possible values for the variable, And there are several given here. In fact, there are 9. So for these 5 students, that was a mistake. This should actually say 9 students. Let's just fix that. There we go. Now it's fixed. So for 9 students, apologies again, we have the following grades. And this is an example of qualitative data because of the letters. However, it could also be either discrete or continuous depending on the value of the grades if they became a numeric assignment instead. How about this one? Okay, in this final example, what do we have? So in this example, the number of classes a student takes would again be quantitative and discrete because they would be counted as whole classes. If we instead changed it to track credits, again, that would move it to quantitative continuous data when we count credits instead of number of classes. So that's it for the explanation of the vocabulary for population, parameter, sample, statistic, data, and all the different types of forms that variables and data can take on. I'll see you in the next video where we discuss sampling, because that's really important to ensure that we actually get a subset of the population. I'll see you there.